Severe weather threatens the south and the east again today and tomorrow, but a pattern flips the script and the weather reverses. And is there really an East Coast hurricane threat so early in the season? What about the Eastern Pacific? Well, we'll take a look. Plus, a surprise geomagnetic storm could send aurora viewing south of the border. Well, we've got it all covered right here because this is Cold Rain's Weather World, where we've got all the weather, and it starts right now. Hello, friends, and welcome into another exciting edition of Cold Rain's Weather World, the most fun, action-packed weather show on the internet. And we've got an action-packed episode lined up today. We've got severe weather to talk about. We're going to look at your weekend forecast. We've got hurricanes, possibly, maybe. Well, we'll take a look and see if it's time to board those windows up just yet. And we've got a surprise solar storm hitting the atmosphere that could send aurora viewing south of the border. So we're going to look at all of that, but we always start the show with our weather IQ question. And today's weather IQ question, much like yesterday's IQ question, is about earthquakes. And today's might be a little bit harder. So we'll see if it is actually. So the question is, what scale is most commonly used today to measure earthquake magnitude? The moment magnitude scale, the Richter scale, the Mercalli scale, or the seismograph scale? If you know the answer, type it in the comment section. If you don't know it, simply wait till the end of the show. And of course, as always, I will tell you the answer, and then you can go and tell all of your friends what you learned at Cold Rain's Weather World and send them over here too, so we can have a lot of fun together. All right? We'll be right back with the severe weather threat. And I'm back, just like that. I can do that here at Cold Rain's Weather World. Now, we're going to get into the weekend update first. I was a little ahead of myself earlier. We're going to do the severe weather update right after that. Then we're going to take a look and see if there's any legitimacy to those images that are making their way around social media showing big hurricanes hitting the Gulf or the eastern United States. We'll see if that holds water. And then we'll wrap up with our geological and solar update, take a look at that solar storm. Thanks for joining today. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and giving a like to the content if you like it. Leave a comment in the comment section. It could be about the show, or leave a prayer request if there's something specifically I can pray over for you. I pray for you generally every day. And so pray over, put anything I can pray over specifically for in there, and certainly pray for me. Need it. And but anyway, thank God for you, and thank God for the weather that we can enjoy every day. Even though it's cloudy outside, it's still a beautiful day. We have breath and life, and we have opportunity ahead of us. And so we'll be thankful for that. Morganton's about right here, and it is cloudy today, as is much of the country. About 75% of the country is under significant cloud cover, as you can see here. This satellite image shows lightning display too, so we've got a little thunderstorm activity here in southwest Oklahoma and just off the Gulf here down below Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and places like that. But big cloud cover up and down. There's a trough working in, and it is helping to pull moisture out of the Gulf of cold rain and create plenty of clouds and precipitation in some areas. Looking at the alerts map today, not a lot out here, just some areas of fog up here in eastern Ohio, West Virginia, up toward Indianapolis, down here in Texas, near Dallas, Fort Worth, in western Nebraska, down in southern this is Arizona. I don't know why I can't think of the state, Arizona here, but if you're driving around out here in these areas, be careful, use low beams, and drive slowly, okay? And we've got heat warnings, heat advisories, and extreme heat watches up here for Southern California for warm weather this weekend. It's going to be one of the very warm spots as we go through the weekend. The surface map for this afternoon, check this out. So we've got a big area where we could see showers and thunderstorms really for much of the nation's midsection of the south and southeast. Rain potentially up here into the Midwest, into the Great Lakes and Northeast. Got a couple of areas of low pressure getting their act together. That'll continue over the course of the next couple of days. Severe weather possible from Abilene down toward Lubbock, and then over again from Charleston, Myrtle Beach down to Savannah, Georgia today. So if you're in those areas, pay attention, stay weather aware, keep an eye to the sky. A couple of showers and thunderstorms possible up here in the northern Rockies into the Bitterroots. And then of course in the Cascades coastal range, we could see a little bit of shower activity in the Pacific Northwest, even some snow snow possible up here in the Olympics. So pay attention up there. Tomorrow, we've got a big severe weather day potentially up and down the East Coast. We've got a slight risk of severe weather from just north of Tallahassee all the way up into Richmond, Virginia. And so we're going to pay attention here in the coastal plain, the eastern sections just east of the Alps in the southeast. Excessive rainfall possible above there, where a few inches of rain could fall with these areas of low pressure getting their act together. This frontal zone will serve as a boundary and trigger for showers and thunderstorms across much of the southeast. We've got potential for showers all the way up through the Great Lakes in the northeast. Back here in Wyoming, down in New Mexico, we've seen a lot less in coverage, but we could still see a few showers out there. And then as we get on into Sunday, much less in the way of active weather. A few showers and thunderstorms over the southern plains and the desert southwest, but really the focus is going to be with this low pressure winding up over the northeast. Showers, thunderstorms, and potentially some heavy rain up here in the northeast as we go through Saturday into Sunday. Okay, so this is what is ahead of us for the next couple of days. Looking out a little farther into Sunday, that low pressure is winding up Saturday evening, and as we get on into Saturday night into Sunday, it will continue to move up into Canada, drag a lot of that precipitation with it, so will leave us with just showers up here in the eastern lakes in the northeast. Little system working in the northwesterly flow behind that main system up in the northeast. That's going to bring a few showers to Tennessee, maybe western Carolinas as we go through the evening, and potentially some thunderstorms there. So we'll see how that shakes out. South Carolina looks to get a little bit of rain and some rain in the southwest as well in the Rocky Mountains. So that's your forecast for the weekend in terms of precipitation. Looking at temperatures here, we're going to see some areas as much as 10 to 15 degrees below normal over the next couple of days here in the central plains, eventually working into the northeast. But look at this, highs in close to 80 up here near Caribou. But if we get on in toward the rest of the Great Lakes area and New England area, we move on to the nation's midsection. Highs in the 60s and 70s today. Going to be warmer out west and certainly warm across the south and into the southeast, where we find 80s close to 90 in spots. Tomorrow, still very mild in some of these areas here in the Tennessee and Ohio Valley. Up into the northeast, we're going to be below normal as we get on into the afternoon. We'll see highs creep back up into the 80s into the northern plains. Starts to really warm up in the San Joaquin Valley and California, the desert southwest. We're going to get into the hundreds out here. Cool over Texas. We're going to find way below normal out here, maybe 15 degrees below normal in spots. Temperatures in the 70s for highs in Dallas behind that front. 79 here in Dallas, you can see that. And then 80s getting pinched down here into the southeast. Looking ahead for Saturday, warming up finally. We're seeing big heat down here in this desert southwest in California. Warm everywhere except for the Rockies, 80s and 90s, and then cool up in the northeast again, 10 to 15 degrees below normal up in the northeast. Looks for like a nice day on Saturday here in the northern parts of the Carolinas, where you're seeing temperatures in the 70s, and then out into Sunday as well. Much the same story. Cool in the northeast, cool in the northwest. A new trough is working in. Out ahead of that, southerly flow going to push 80s all the way up to the Canadian border in the central plains, and then the southeast is looking mild as well. Now, taking a look at the severe weather threat over the next couple of days, here's what we've got. We've got our Cape thunderstorm fuel here working in. You can see this afternoon, our spots of highest Cape are here in south, we'll call it west central Texas, and then over here from, say, Jacksonville, Florida, up into the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. And that's where we find the highest instability as we go through the day today. And of course, in accordance with that, this is where we're seeing the severe weather threat shake out. So big severe weather threat here in Texas. Again, we're looking in, and also over here along the East Coast from Myrtle Beach down to Jacksonville. And look at this, tornado threat, not all that much. You can always see tornadoes spin up, so we're not going to rule it out completely. But wind is the primary threat, but big hail is the primary threat back in Texas, where we could see very large hail again. Yesterday, we saw 3-inch hail in parts of Texas. We also saw in Oklahoma an 87, in Beaver, Oklahoma had 87 mile per hour wind gusts. So we saw some high winds, very large hail again out here. Not quite 6 inches that we saw a few days ago, but still very large hail. And we could see that again today, this afternoon, as these systems kind of work to produce thunderstorms in the higher Cape environment. Now tomorrow, taking a look at that Cape again, as we go on through the evening hours. That will diminish as nighttime cooling takes over. But look what happens tomorrow. We have more Cape and Texas kind of behind that thunderstorm complex, but we get on into tomorrow afternoon. We see our Cape kind of build over here along the East Coast, not extremely high values, but we've got shear, we've got wind energy moving in aloft, and that's going to act on this. A frontal zone is going to help to lift the atmosphere, so we're not going to need a tremendous amount of Cape to kick off severe weather over here in the southeast. And so that's what we're looking at tomorrow. There's our severe weather threat for today. Severe weather threat for tomorrow hanging in there across the East Coast, from just south of Atlanta down here toward Augusta, Georgia, into Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, Roanoke. You guys are all in the mix here. Danville, Virginia, Husky, North Carolina. So pay attention if you're in these areas tomorrow. Stay weather aware. Have ways to get weather alerts. Keep your phones handy. We could see that line of thunderstorms develop off the mountains midday and then work toward the east through the afternoon. So it'll be prime heating in here. We're looking at a minimal tornado threat, but we could still see a couple of spin-ups. Wind and hail are the primary threats. And so far, it looks like just sort of an average line of severe thunderstorms coming through with sporadic wind and sporadic hail reports. So it doesn't look like a destructive event, but still pay attention, take it seriously. And as we get on into Saturday afternoon, sorry about that, we've got a little bit of a severe weather threat. So some of these thunderstorms could get a little strong here along the coastal plain of Virginia and North Carolina up into the Delmarva. We could see a few severe weather reports there. Now, taking a look down the road a little bit, we're going to start here on Friday morning with the upper level winds. This is the mid-level winds at 500 millibars, about 3.5 miles up. This is where we can see wind energy, and you see this little jetlet poking in here. This is going to feed that line of thunderstorms working through the Carolinas and the southeast tomorrow afternoon. So if we put this on into motion, look at this. So we've got a big trough here. You can see the trough outlined. I'll show you this big trough here in the northern branch, another trough right here. Those are eventually going to merge and fire up a low pressure over in the mid-Atlantic and off the coast. That's going to move up into New England. And then we've got this big ridge kind of working in like this behind it, and another low in the subtropical jet stream working into the southeast. So that's our pattern. And as we put this on into motion, we get into Friday evening into Saturday. Look what happens. We start to see this all merge together into one big trough. It's going to close off here. Big ridge out west. That means big heat. We saw that in the temperature maps. Cool in the northeast under the influence of this trough. And so that's what's going on as we get on into the weekend. That trough sort of slowly holds in place, maybe migrates slightly to the east as we go out in time. We get on out into Monday, another big ridge. That ridge is moving in. This trough is still hanging on, so we're probably seeing some wedging up and down the east coast, keeping temperatures below normal. But we get on out into Monday, into Tuesday, and we're seeing that ridge move east, replaced with a trough in the west. So we're going to reverse the weather pattern, folks. It's going to get warm in the east and drop below normal in the west, and a trough in the west working east into hot, humid air. What does that mean? Thunderstorms back in the plains as we get on into later midweek toward the end of the week. So pay attention for that, folks, as we get on down the road. And there's our pattern. There it is. See, we get on in to next week, trough in the east, ridge out west, and then it's replaced, ridge out west, trough in the east, and here it comes. So that's what's going on. Looking at the 6 to 10 day weather map, that troughing out west, again, this is for the June the 3rd through the 7th time frame. Troughing is going to bring unsettled weather above normal temperatures, below normal in the east, with the exception of Florida, above in Alaska and Hawaii. And temperatures cooler out west under that trough, and the ridge moves east and skyrockets temperatures out here. So below normal in Alaska and above in Hawaii as well. Now, looking at the tropics, what is all this I'm hearing about a hurricane coming in? Well, this is the GFS run from 0Z overnight. So this was the run from last night, okay? And now look at this. Big hurricane down here in the Gulf getting its act together. Tropical storm winding up, boom! Strikes right here near Mobile, just east of Mobile in the Florida Panhandle. All right, so that's what we've got, a big hurricane. Then it goes on up into the western Tennessee Valley. All right, now look at this. This is the 6Z run of the GFS. What does it do? It still has that same storm, but tracks it right through Florida, then strengthens it off the southeast coast, moves it along up the coast. North Carolina, you're getting crushed here, the Outer Banks, erosion galore, waves, wind, riptides, all of the above, and it moves on out. Now, what does the European model show? Let's see if the GFS is right or if it's out to lunch like usual. Here's the European way out here in time. We're just moving along, moving along, moving along. Showers. All right, so that's the European. No way to know which model's right, but we can guess which model's right, right? The GFS, right? No, GFS is always doing some fun stuff out in the 360 to 384 time frame. I think somebody coded the GFS to show epic, fun, crazy solutions out at that time frame. The ensembles don't agree with a massive tropical storm or a cyclone in the Gulf or off the eastern seaboard. The European doesn't agree. The GFS agrees with itself, as it often does, and usually it comes around as we go on out in time. So right now, we're going to throw cold water on the tropical storm idea out in the Gulf, out in the second week of June. Now, off the west coast, that's a little bit of a different story. We've got tropical storm 1 here, or a tropical depression 1 rather. It's not quite yet a tropical storm. It's got a couple of more days to intensify before it gets into some colder water, but in any event, that's what we're looking at here, tropical system there. So we'll keep a watch on it, but it doesn't look like it's going to impact anyone in the near future. Volcanic update. What are we looking at here? Same 4 areas we've been watching, so nothing new to show there. Earthquakes, fairly tranquil since we've had that big 6.2 in Greece the other day. Not a lot to show here. A couple of quakes down here in Peru of magnitude 4, but outside of that, not much going on. But solar weather, we've had this coronal hole, this kind of scar on the sun facing us, sending a wind stream. And guess what happened? A surprise spike in the KP index. This just sort of measures geomagnetic activity. The Space Weather Center was expecting a G1, and this big spike here shows that it's a little bit higher than that. So look at this. Scroll up here to the top, G3. We've got a strong geomagnetic storm affecting the Earth. And look at this. There's our aurora. High likelihood of auroras tonight, and so we can see auroras possibly all the way down to southern Montana into South Dakota, Minnesota, up through the Great Lakes, and then possibly northern Maine. So a lot of clouds out there today, but if some of those clear out, particularly over here in the plains, might be able to see some aurora, have good aurora viewing today. So pay attention up there, folks, and that leads us into the end of our show with the wrap-up of today's Weather IQ question, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to that right now. So the question was, what scale is commonly used today to measure earthquake magnitude? Moment magnitude scale, Richter scale, Mercalli scale, or the seismograph scale? And to many of our surprises, maybe anyway, it is the moment magnitude scale. It is a more accurate scale in measuring the intensity of the earthquake than the old Richter scale. Okay, so it measures, Richter scale doesn't do very well with earthquakes magnitude over 6.5, and so the moment magnitude scale measures it a bit of a different way and can pick it up far across the earth, where the Richter scale needs to be within, starts to lose integrity after you get a certain distance away. I want to say it's like 600 kilometers or something like that, but the moment magnitude scale is the actual scale that's most commonly used to measure earthquakes today. So now you know about earthquakes, and also couple of parting shots here. In 1953, today, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, I think I'm saying those names right, were the first pair to summit Mount Everest. They were the first confirmed climbers to reach the summit of Mount Everest. So congrats to them. And in 1848, Wisconsin, thank you, Wisconsin, you all became the 30th state of the United States. I don't know if you knew that or not, but if you're in Wisconsin, now you know. And now you know the weather, folks. And of course, this is Cold Rain is always reminding you, others channels run 24/7, but this YouTube channel, Cold Rain's Weather World, runs 48/14. We keep you posted all the time. And you can follow me on X at Real Cold Rain. That's it, folks. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back tomorrow.